very practically. And also time management is what you are tested on the case study. So having said that, let's get to work. Let's get to work. I'll be running, but then it's an interactive session. It's supposed to be an interactive session. So feel free to interject. Feel free to stop me if I share a thought and you don't want to forget. Just stop me quickly and say, stop. Please clarify this thing you said, blah, 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 blah. And that will help us to catch what we are supposed to catch, the nitty-gritties, to be able to navigate these exams seamlessly. For those that don't know me, I wrote the case study paper in May 2019, and I scored at first attempt 78. So why do I share this? It's not to brag or to feel proud. No, it's to tell you that it's easy to pass. Case study is very easy. In fact, at the professional level, in my opinion, that's the easiest paper. So don't take it hard. I scored 78 at first attempt, and I did not finish requirement 2. I started requirement 2 just halfway, and the next thing I had was submit. So it's easy to pass. Don't take it as a serious paper. I think the most serious papers at the professional level is AAAF and SFM. But I think case study is simplest. So just simple nitty-gritties in this Preseen analysis, and I tell you, be grateful you did. It's very easy to pass. So don't take it seriously and don't fidget over this paper. It's very easy to pass. All right. So having said that, I also need to clarify. Some people feel also down when they fail exams, and maybe you are reattempting. Exams are not the true test of knowledge or the true test of intelligence. Exams are just a test of your preparation and understanding what that body is examining. That's all. A lot of people didn't go through the 4 walls of school and they are super intelligent. They are successful in life. So don't take these exams. Of course, we are serious. The pressure is mounting. It's ICAN exams. I've gone through it. But that is not a true test of your intelligence. You must get that fact. Is a fact. It's not a true test of it. It's just a test of your preparation, understanding the body's way of examining and getting to know that you understand what they do. That's all. So please, it's not a do or die affair, like one of my friends used to say. So take it easy and you'll pass it very seamlessly. I needed to buttress that. All right, so back to business, back to work. The Preseen has been released. And please don't forget, make sure you go through this narrative, read through these instructions. They are very vital. We don't have time to go through them nitty-gritty, one by one in detail, but please go through them. Ensure that you are abreast with the instructions and what you are supposed to do in the case study exam or on the exam day. All right, so the Preseen has been released and we have 5 exhibits. The first exhibit speaks to who you are. Who you are. So you must wear the heart of the person in this scenario. So for example, I'm Josiah Gabriel. On the day of case study exams, 20th November, come 20th, I'm no more Josiah Gabriel. Between 9 a.m. and 1 p.m., I am Sylvester Chukwudi. So you're supposed to wear the heart of Sylvester Chukwudi. For that 4-hour exams, you are no more Josiah Gabriel. You are now Sylvester Chukwudi. Get that very clear. So your employer is Bagudu. Bagudu Ademola and Co. Chartered Accountants. So you report directly to Bagudu, Dauda Bagudu, a partner in the firm. Position, approach to client services and technical competence in accounting, financial analysis, and business advisory. So as a graduate, an accounting graduate, you are preparing for the final exams. Now, wearing the hat of Sylvester Bagudu, you are supposed to work for the partner. Now, this report, you must understand the first stage of preparing or understanding how to present this report. You must understand whether it's external or it's internal. Now, an internal report is a report that the reporter provides to somebody internal to his organization. But an external report is a report you provide to somebody outside. You're talking of the ultimate destination, the output of that report, where it's going to. So it doesn't determine who you report to right now. Because if you follow who you report to based on this first paragraph here, the report is going to Dauda Bagudu because you report to Dauda Bagudu. But this particular report is not going to somebody internal in this firm, Bagudu and Co. The report belongs a pact exalted your services or asked for your services. So the company is Motors Nigeria Limited, and that automatically makes it an external report. So a lot of people get confused around saying, okay, I report directly to Dauda Bagudu, a partner in your firm. No, you're just being supervised, but the output, the ultimate destination of that report goes to the board of directors of Folak Nigeria Limited. So automatically this report is an external report. Please take note of that so you don't get it twisted or get it mixed up. This is very important to note. All right. So having spoken to that, we have established the fact that this is an external report because Sylvester Chukwudi works for Bagudu Ademola and Co-Chartered Accountants, and there is an exhibit or reports provided for analysis for an external company, which is Folak Nigeria or Motors Nigeria Limited, and that automatically culminates in an external report. So we've established that. So your first page, and don't forget, we have a format here we've been sharing online. So the first thing you do is to carve out your pages in the exams. So structure your pages because you will not be writing on them sequentially. You have to be writing on them based on what you've provided as your calculations. So structure out your pages. You know that the first page you open is your cover page. And that could be written on because at this stage, the only thing that you will not input in the cover page is the requirements because you don't know what the requirements are. They'll be provided on the day of the unseen. But you could lay out the cover page, and that's what we've done in this first page. So by the way, the report is on the platform already. So if you cannot stay to the end of the class, it's late, and I understand that should be my fault, but it was not deliberate. It was out of my control. So if you have to leave, the report is on the platform. So if you can't stay to the end, it's fine. So the cover page starts with Bagudu's letterheaded. We've established it's an external report. So Bagudu's letterheaded comes with his address. We don't have the address, so we just coined something logical. So I just use number 7 Amadu Bello. So you could use anything, but on the letterheaded of Bagudu, make sure you put an address, a phone number, and maybe an email or a website, something like that, to show that you are speaking to a letterheaded of that audit firm. Now, the output, your report, is supposed to go to the board of directors of Folak Nigeria Limited from the exhibits. So either the management or the board. So the addressee or to who the report is going to is the board of directors of Folak. And you could put, maybe in the unseen, they gave you the address. I just used an address from Lagos because I don't see any address in the Preseen. So you have an address to board of directors. So you see some people say to the board of directors, but they don't put the name of the company. You're going to be marked down. Take note of it. You're going to be marked down if you do that. Don't just say to the board of directors. Which board of directors? Which company? So write the name of the board of directors, and if they have an address, please put it there. Put it there. Very important. Then the report is on requirement 1 and 2. And on no account should you write report on financial statement analysis and financial data analysis. You're going to be marked down. This is the first page the examiner is going to be reading, so please polish it and do the right thing. The report is on requirement 1 and 2 verbatim. You may not be able to copy everything in requirement 1 and 2, but you should summarize requirement 1 and 2 in letters, not saying requirement 1 and 2, report on requirement 1 and 2, or report on financial statement analysis, financial data analysis. That is not a requirement, or that is not a report structure. Please state it. So in this case, we're coming to the requirements. It states that an assessment of integrating, or an assessment integrating the company's profitability, efficiency, capital structure, and ethical risks alongside the viability. So you see this alongside, I'm connecting requirement 2. Requirement 1 stops at ethical risk. Then alongside is requirement 2. The statement for requirement 2 continues the viability of the proposed after-sales service center to provide a quantitative and strategic basis for determining the optimal equity loan financial mix and forming a final investment recommendation. So you see, I've coined requirement 1 and 2 as the report header. So once again, on no account should you write report on requirement 1 and 2. That is not a requirement, and you're going to be marked down. Don't do that under exam condition. And don't say financial statement analysis or financial data analysis. Don't do that. So please take note of it. Then the report is prepared by you, Sylvester Chukwudi, Business Advisory Unit. So take note, some people prefer to use the audit firm's name as prepared by is fine, but I don't use that because I already have the audit firm's letterheaded here. So I use the person that prepared the report. Of course, Bagudu, your supervisor Dauda, is going to supervise the report. So if you use his name, some people use his name, is good. You use the audit firm's name, is fine, but I prefer to use the person that is writing the reports and his department. So whichever trio you use, whether the firm's name, whether the audit firm's name or your supervisor's name, whatever it is, prepared by is fine. Just make sure it's in context of the scenario. I use the name of the case, of the person in the case, which is me in that scenario. So don't forget to date it, and the date of the exam is fine. Then for an external report, you must put a disclaimer. This is very important. And part of why a lot of people fail case study exams are these little nitty-gritties. This disclaimer is, I think, 1 mark or 2 marks. But then if you don't put it, you begin to annoy the examiner. Because for an external report, there must be a disclaimer. There must. Take note of it. A disclaimer is very important. So if it's an internal report, it's not needed. But for an external report that it's going out from your firm, you must include a disclaimer stating that this report is for a particular audience and not for any other person. If anybody uses it, the person is on his own. That's what the disclaimer is saying. So you must use a disclaimer. Please take note of it. And this is an external report. A disclaimer must be provided. Very, very key. Take note of it. All right. So that's your cover page. And if you look at the format, that captures 4 marks. You see the firm letter headed here. Then we have the addressed to, then the report title, which is the requirement. You have to summarize the requirements. Then you have who is preparing it, the date. Then disclaimers are for external reports only. And in this, our exams is an external report automatically we've determined. And you have 4 marks for doing this. We've done that very clearly. All right. So having spoken to that, do we have any questions on this cover page? Any questions? Because I'll move to the next thing. And please don't forget, if you have any questions, interject freely, raise your hands and ask very, very freely without any fear of reprimand. I used to say there are no stupid questions. There are no intelligent questions. You just need to know. Yeah, please. J.O., your hands are up. Please go ahead. Yeah, Joshua, please go ahead and speak. Your hands are up.
Good evening, sir.
Yeah, good evening. Nice to have you. You're welcome.
Thank you very much for all you do.
You're welcome.
Now, I want to ask, can we merge this cover letter with executive summary? Can we merge them to be one page? Or we just continue from this, instead of having this cover page on one page on its own, and then continue another page for executive summary? Can we just continue from the cover where we stop from the cover page? Can we continue from there? Maybe the next 2 lines Is it ideal? Is it advisable? Thank you very much.
Very good question. Very good question. Thank you for that, Joshua. Appreciated. All right. So, my answer to that is no. No. Why did I say no? Don't continue your executive summary on the letterheaded page. Number one, you're not trying to save pages or save space. Number two, you are trying to be neat and you are trying to present your thoughts and your layout in a very articulate manner. So don't do that. The cover page is a separate document from that of the executive summary. So don't continue the executive summary under the cover page. You're going to make your work shabby and tardy. You're going to make the examiner pissed off. So one of the things you're tested on is neatness. You have to be neat. So the first page based on the layout is executive summary. If you do, you have a lot of space. And that is why I advise to leave a lot of lines. So after the letterheaded, leave 2, 3, 4 lines, go to 2. Don't write under each line so that you don't have a lot of space. Imagine a letterheaded in your office and how it looks. And that's what you inform your printing of the letterheaded. You can see how I maximize this space, even though it's a Word document. I maximized it. So you have a line script provided to you. So leave a lot of lines. So maybe after the letterheaded Bagudu, you move to 1, 2, 3, 4 lines. Then you start 2. After 2, you leave 1, 2, 3, 4 lines. You write report on. After report on, you leave maybe 1, 2, 3 lines to write prepared by. By the time you do that, you will have exhausted this full page down to disclaimer. And if you don't do that, it's fine. But then, no matter the space left under the lines, leave that page and go to the next page for executive summary, because executive summary is a separate header on its own. So on no account should you continue the executive summary under the cover letter page. You're going to make your work tardy and you're going to piss the examiner off. So one of the things you're tested on is you're trying to impress the examiner. You want to get your marks. So good question. Don't make that mistake. Don't continue the executive summary on this page. I can understand you need space for the executive summary because the executive summary should not be more than 2 pages. If you go more than 2 pages, you'll be penalized. So you want to save space. I understand that. Try to maximize the 2 pages. You have minimum 1 page for executive summary, maximum 2 page. So everything you are writing should be the snapshot of everything that has transpired in the case. And that shouldn't go more than 2 pages. You've written a lot. Requirement 1, you had a lot of space and time to write. Requirement 2, you've written. So summarize it in 2 pages. That shouldn't be hard to do. My audit reports in where I work when I'm presenting to the board or the audit committee is 1 page, is a 1-page slide. They want to see what happened, all your stories in just a snapshot. And that's what you're being tested on, you're being trained on in these exams. So you see a lot of people write executive summary 3, 4, 5, 6 pages. That is not executive summary. You're just writing the body of a report. That's what you're doing. So I understand you want to save space, but please stick to 2 pages executive summary and don't write it under the cover page. The cover page is on its own, is a standalone document, and the executive summary is a standalone document also. So good question. Thank you for that question. And I believe that's clear. All right. Any other question? Yes, please. I didn't catch that. Somebody said something.
I said very, very clear, and thank you.
Oh, fantastic. Thank you, Jay. Thank you, Jay. All right. Any other questions so that we can move on quickly? Any questions? Okay. If we don't have any questions, let's go on. So we've spoken to the cover page now. Let's move on. Now, the next thing is the executive summary, but right now we can't write the executive summary. So under exam condition, leave 2-3 pages for the executive summary, which is 20 marks. And take note, if you don't write an executive summary, which is 20 marks, and you get 80 marks in the other areas, you're going to come back to write case study. That is an instruction. So if you flaunt the instruction of not writing an executive summary and you scored 80, you're going to be marked down and you come back to write case study. So you must provide an executive summary. It's a prerequisite to passing case study. The examiner is clear on that. So please take note of it. All right, so we can't write our executive summary now because we've not done our calculations and our reports, which is based on the appendices and the requirements 1 and 2. So we leave page 2 and 3 for executive summary, which is what we'll do here in our report structure. And we have the executive summary laid out, but we can't read it now because we need to provide context based on the appendices. Your appendices is where you start from. You start the calculations first before you go ahead and start to write your requirement 1. And from requirement 1, you go to requirement 2. Some people use the technique to beat up time. When they finish requirement 1, they can go and form an executive summary. It's fine. Whatever works for you, do it. And if you can do requirement 1 and 2 discussion before you provide executive summary for both, is fine. Any technique that works for you, you have 4 hours to provide your thoughts on that. Okay, so let's go through the exhibits. This is you based on exhibit 1, and these are the responsibilities you perform. We may not be able to go through all of them verbatim, word for word, because of time. I believe you must have gone through it all through these weeks when the Preseen was released. You've gone through all what you're supposed to do and your responsibilities. So we have exhibit 2. You must have gone through it, the Nigerian economy and the services sector. We have the introduction to the Nigerian economy and the stories, the structure and services in Nigeria, the motor repairs services subsector. We have key features, all provided on the motor industry. We also have economic impact of motor repairs within the service sector. We have the merits, we have the challenges, all provided in this exhibit. We also have opportunities for growth and transformation. We also have the role of government and stakeholders in this industry. That brings us to exhibit 3, an analysis of motor vehicle sales and distribution business in Nigeria. So we have that market overview of 2022 to 2025, but not financial statements, just hypothetical scenarios of the size of growth, the key segments and distribution channels. We have the distribution structures, key market drivers. You've gone through all that. We also have challenges facing the sector, trends and opportunities for 3 years, and a lot of information here for you. So I believe you've gone through this Preseen, you've read through it, I've read through it, so there's no time for us to go through it. We need to speak to how to address what the requirements are. So we have exhibit 5, very important. Now this is the numbers exhibit 5 started with the numbers. So we have a 2-year financial statement, and we may not be presented with additional numbers because we are in 2025 and we don't have a full year yet for 2025. So I'm not sure he's going to bring numbers for 2025 because we are currently in November. And if he had brought maybe 2022, 2023, then maybe we'll assume he's going to come up with 2024 additional. And if he's going to come up with 2025, then it's going to be an interim financial statement, maybe January to September. We don't know. But then keep your fingers crossed. Anything he comes with, just be ready with whatever information the examiner is coming with. But I doubt if he's going to come. I doubt strongly if he's going to come up, looking at his trajectory, his former reports. If he does a particular year, he hardly comes up with another year. That's his trajectory.
Sorry, sir. What about forecast? 2023
okay.
Forecast.
Something like that. Okay, if it's a forecast, I agree. If it's a forecasted statement, maybe you're supposed to prepare a forecast. I agree, but not actuals. Yeah, so a forecast could work. Good thoughts. So a forecast could work, yeah. All right, so this financial statement, if you look at 2023 and 2024, the first thing you want to know is what is the difference between 2023 and 2024, very importantly. What is the change? What changed between 2023 and 2024 in the numbers? and that will necessitate you to prepare a yearly change analysis. So from your financial statement analysis, that's what you should first do. So if you look at the exhibit, you should prepare a trend analysis. So you want to know what transpired between 2024 and 2023. Was there growth? So the first thing is to look at the income statement between revenue, cost of sales, operating income, income before tax to net income. What was the difference? And that is what you should think of first. So looking at 2023, you can see that there's a 5% growth. Then in value, about 88 million in revenue between 2024 and 2023. Same for cost of sales. There was a growth by 5.2%. Selling and admin and other expenses changed by 11.5 million by all 5%. Total costs and expenses changed same by 5%. Operating income negative 4%. Down to net income, and we had a 36% growth, and the value is 15.6 million in profit, change between 2023 and 2024. So looking at this statement, the first thing we should know is the change. You need to present a change, a trend analysis. What happened between the 2 years? Was there growth? Was there decline? So in your appendices, that should form your first appendices. That should form your first appendices. So I haven't done for the income statement. You also do for the SFP. You want to see what transpired between assets, liabilities, and capital. So looking at your assets, you want to see what transpired. So the current, you want to see the change. You can see your cash and cash equivalent from current. I used a different format. Non-current asset is supposed to come first. Pardon that. So your non-current, your current assets came. Looking at your cash and cash equivalent, we had a decline in 2024 by 7%. Marketable securities, we had an increase by 0.6%. Trade and other receivables, we had an increase by 7.3%, value 45 million. Inventory declined by 4.47%. And we have the total current asset increase by 2.4%, by 29 million. Then we had our non-current asset totally increased by 4.3%. We have liabilities, and the total liabilities increased also by 4%, 98.2 million. Then we have equity movements. We had an increase by 4.35%. So there are key observations I've put here. The profitability volatility, there's a massive 1,555% increase in order loss that highlights the significant impact of the one-off impairment charge in 2024. So that is in the predicted unseen anyway. It may not come in the main exam, but if you look at the scenario I provided or I predicted, that was what happened. Then based on the asset growth, I also provided some key observations here that could form your thoughts in writing. Then also the financial strategy based on long-term debt, which is by 4.3% and is consistent with the company's high gearing strategy to fund operations and investment. So this key information was added so that you can have some thoughts to write, because you must take note that the case study exams is not a computational exams. Computations, everything we've computed here with exhibit 1 and 2 is just 8 marks. The best you can get is 8 marks. If you don't write on those computations, you're not going to pass case study. Case study is a written exam. The appendices, the calculations are just a foundation for you to write. So take note of it. And that's why you shouldn't waste more than an hour. Don't take more than an hour calculating. Once you've exhausted an hour, go and write, because it's in the writing that you pass case study. This is very important to note, so that you don't waste time trying to, I want to balance the figures, I want to get the accuracy. Accuracy does not work in case study. Once you form your basis of discussion, please go and write. Take note of that. If you can calculate under 45 minutes, have more time to write, please write. Right. So take note of it, and don't go and write and decide not to calculate. You're going to shoot yourself in the leg. I had a candidate that did that, and it costed him 2 diets. He kept writing without providing calculations. He said the calculations are in his head, and he will write and they will return the paper. So he met me and I was like, so how do you do it? Okay, do a mock. Let me see. He did, and I didn't see appendix, so I marked him down. I was like, I didn't see appendix. Appendices are the foundation you use to write. So what was the basis for writing? He said, no, he calculated all the ratios in his head. I said, no, I see what is in paper, not in your head. So it's very important to take note of it. You need to provide appendices to write, but don't waste time calculating. Once you form the basis for calculation based on the change, the ratios, whatever it is the examiner asks you, please go and write. Writing is what case study is all about. Okay, so having said that, we've looked at the trend analysis between 2023, 2024, the change in figure and the change in percentage, change in value and the change in percentage. All right, so back to the document right now. So we've analyzed the change based on the summarized financial statements, based on the income statement and the SFP. Okay, so we'll now come to this predicted unseen, and I've put a disclaimer there. I've predicted like 2 diets, and the examiner did not come up with what I predicted. So what did I predict? Why did I predict this? Is to help us practice, not to cram. Don't cram this unseen. It may likely not come out like this, and in most cases, it won't come out like this. So please, warning, don't cram. Understand the format, understand the report writing and how I did it, and follow it like that. So if he comes up with a different requirement, you're going to sail through seamlessly. Don't cram this. So take note of it. All right. So now the predicted unseen, we have 10 exhibits or 5 exhibits. So if you add the first, the Preseen exhibit, we have 10 exhibits totally. So the first exhibit is on Bagudu to Sylvester. 7th exhibit is an explanatory note to the draft financial statements. Then the 8th exhibit is proposal for new after-sales services project Folak Care. Then exhibit 9 is an internal memo from the head of procurement to the CFO. And the last exhibit is selective comparative market data and financial indicators. All right, so let's look at the information that will provide us with the requirement that was predicted. So you are still Sylvester Chukwudi, don't forget that. And you are required to draft a report set out in the email dated 11th November 2025 from the partner you report to. So that is encapsulated in Exhibit 6, Exhibit 8, and an internal memo on the 28th of October from the CFO to the head of procurement, Exhibit 9. So your report should comprise an executive summary, which is very important and very, very cardinal. Number 2 is the responses to the exhibits based on 6 and 7. And you have the time recommended for allocation. Then you have the marking structure based on the examiner. So he also stated this unequivocally. Ensure you submit an executive summary, without which you don't stand a chance of passing case study. Please take note of it. Also, he said something here. 10% of your report is consideration for ethical issues. And if you don't discuss ethical issues, requirement 1 and 2 is going to be challenging passing case study. Ethical issues, very important. As a separate subheader, take note of it. All right, having said that, now the email from Dauda Bagudu to you, Sylvester Chukwudi, stated that, thank you for familiarizing yourself with the Folak Motors document or Folak Motors data. The board has engaged us to provide an integrated advisory report covering their financial health, strategic direction, and critical risks ahead of their next expansion phase. Folak Motors' performance particularly the heavily reliance on debt and decision to move into the after-sales market, requires our most rigorous professional judgment. Your immediate task is to provide a comprehensive report structured to address the two key requirements below. Please ensure your response is professional, actionable, and supported by detailed appendices where necessary. So we're required. Roman numeral 1, an analysis of financial health, capital structure, strategic risk that critically reviews Folak Motors' financial performance for 2024. Your review should cover, your analysis should focus on profitability and efficiency, a detailed analysis of key ratios addressing the anomaly of the large order loss and the significant increase in income before tax. Capital structure and gearing, an evaluation of the company's leverage position and its capacity to raise additional long-term financing given the current debt profile. Strategic and ethical risk requirement, advise the board on primary strategic risks associated with operating in the Nigerian automotive market, foreign exchange, tariffs, and competition, and assess the ethical and reputational risk regarding reputational risks specifically related to the procurement of spare parts, concluding with necessary mitigation measures. And number 3, analysis of strategic investment appraisal and financing. Prepare a separate analysis to evaluate the proposed investment in the new after-sales service center as detailed in Exhibit 8. The analysis should cover investment viability, a quantitative appraisal of the project's viability using appropriate appraisal techniques, financial strategy, a recommendation on the optimal financing mix between equity injection and a new long-term bank loan, considering the company's current high gearing, which is long-term debt to equity ratio, and the interest rates provided in Exhibit 5 and 8. A justification on whether Folak Motors should proceed with the investment, incorporating both financial and non-financial factors, and a plan for market entry. So these are the requirements. Now take note. The examiner has been using Roman numeral 1, 2, 3, 4 to test just 2 requirements. And I get amazed and I get reports from students going ahead to write 4 requirements. I got a report from a student that said, so I failed last diet. I thought there were 4 requirements. I said, how can there be 4 requirements? He said the examiner put 1, 2, 3, 4. I said, no, read in between the lines. There are always 2 requirements. So just read in between the lines. You know which ones are requirement 1 and 2 and disconnect them. Merge the ones that you know you've read through. So numbering based on Roman numeral 1, 2, 3, 4 does not mean there are 4 requirements. You say, I went and be writing 4 requirements. No wonder there was no time, I couldn't finish. I said, there are only 2 requirements. So he started using 1, 2, 3, 4 lately just to test candidates' ability to read in between the lines and eye for details. So from this I've done now, you see that Roman numeral 1 and 2 is requirement 1. Very simply. Then Roman numeral 3 and 4 is requirement 2. So assuming that 1, 2, 3, 4 is requirement 1, requirement 2, requirement 3, and 4 is a fundamental challenge. That means you're not reading the requirements. That's just what I will conclude. So don't make that mistake. There are always 2 requirements. Even if he brings 6 Roman numerals, he just splitted the narrative in 6 different places. So read in between the lines and delineate them. There are always 2 requirements. Please don't get confused under exam condition. I know it could be tense, it could be challenging, but then don't get confused. There are always 2 requirements. Yes, please, Joshua, go ahead. Your hands are up.
Yes, sir. I think this was my actual problem last diet. I was also thinking it's 4 requirements. I spent up to 30 minutes thinking about 4 requirements. Why do you say it's going to be 2 requirements? So thank you for explaining this very, very clear. So I think I'm good to go. And it's very, very clear to me. Thank you very much.
You're welcome. You're welcome. I'm glad it's it resonates with you. Yeah. So the student reached out to me and he complained that he failed the paper and he was saying he did 4 requirements. So don't make that mistake. And thank you for that appreciated. It's good you are clear now, and that is why it's good to have some of these Preseen classes to clarify stuffs like this. All right, so we have two requirements. The next predicted exhibit are explanatory notes. I just provided this, and this is the other loss I spoke to. It may not come like this. He has not tested models in a while, so he may come up with a model. I hope you're conversant with all the models. Mr. Olaleye has provided us with SWOT, I think Pestle, and some other models. Yes, he may come up with a model, but then my prediction from the Preseen, I don't think he will come up with a model, but it's not totally ruled out. So don't, because of this, my unseen now, start looking at investment appraisal, NPV. Also keep the models adequately, keep yourself informed of those models from Diamond Porter, all his models, 4 of them, 5 of them, Pestle, SWOT, every model, performance and strategic. Yes, please. Yeah, please. Go ahead, interject. Somebody's trying to say something.
No, I was saying Ansoff model.
Yes, Ansoff too. Thank you. Ansoff, be conversant with them. Just understand those components. If you know the components, you can apply whatever it is he asks you to do. It will be very challenging to go into the hall and you are asked that based on this motor vehicle industry company, use BCG matrix to analyze. If you don't know the components of BCG matrix, I'm sorry, you are already having issues with case study already. So please know the components. Within now and Thursday, if you don't know those components of those models, we've done classes on it. There are slides, summaries. Please go ahead and just know the components so that you can apply it to the scenario. Don't rule out the fact that you come up with models. Don't rule the fact out. This Preseen is just for familiarization. And they are my thoughts. I'm not the examiner. I just provided this with the little information I think should come in the unseen based on what I've read in the Preseen. So please don't rule out those models.
Hello, sir.
Yes, please.
I still need some clarification about the 4 requirement stuff.
Okay.
Let's assume the requirement. Let's say requirement 1. The examiner asks about transaction. Then requirement 2 about financial analysis. Then 3, let's say, is about proposal. And the 4th requirement is sustainability. I quite know that requirement 1 is always financial statement analysis. Requirement 2 is financial data analysis. So, but the way the examiner arrange it, taxation 1, financial analysis 2, proposal 3, then sustainability 3. So that tax for requirement 1, how are we going to incorporate it, and the sustainability that the examiner put in requirement 4, how are we going to incorporate it in the both financial analysis and financial data analysis?
Very good question. Thank you very much for bringing that. So the first one, he spoke to tax. Second one, he said financial analysis or evaluation. You link them together. So he wants you to talk about tax in the case. And he also wants you to evaluate financial indices and also taxation issues in the scenario. Very simple. Second one, he's talking about appraisal or investment technique or something, and he added sustainability. So he wants you to talk about sustainability with the investment project, how sustainable it is. So the third and the fourth are requirement 2. So tax, Roman numeral 1, and financial evaluation or financial performance analysis, whatever it is he provided, is requirement 1. So match them together. Simple. Read in between the lines. Requirement 1 and 2. Yes, please. Yeah, go ahead.
So in what skip box can we now put that requirement 1 and the other one?
Good question.
We have 8 skip boxes.
8 boxes. Yes. So good. So for tax and for financial evaluation, everything you're going to discuss based on the first box. The first box, generally, it's from the exhibit you get your data and information. Then the second box, which is professional tools, and the third box, which is analysis, analytical skills you display, or trend analysis, whatever. Now that tax and the financial evaluation should, if there are computations for it, you have appendices, then you describe them in professional tools and your analytical box. So those two boxes should form your basis for calculations on tax and financial evaluation. So 8 of the discussion on those two boxes,
box
yes.
3, yeah.
Yes, box 2 and box 3, yes, should form the basis of your conversation on tax and financial evaluation. And also for requirement 2, based on the investment appraisal or project appraisal or project evaluation you're doing, and sustainability. Now, sustainability is mostly box 5. It's an ethical area. So you're trying to see areas around sustainability, compliance to green green compliance, complying to environment, the issue of ESG. Mostly it's a compliance thing, and anything compliance should come under challenges and considerations or ethical issues or risk, yes, ethical issues or risk assessment. So that sustainability will come under either the 4th, 5th, and 6th box. Then everything on project appraisal, you should do that in 2nd box, professional tools and analytical skills. So sustainability is more of a compliance thing, and that should come up in the 4th, 5th box. Your discussion should be around that. So if you stratified it this way, I don't think you should have challenges in the discussion. I hope that is clear. I think it's AK that asked the question.
All right, so it's clear. Thank you very much, sir.
All right, you're welcome. Fantastic. Thank you. All right. Thank you for those fantastic questions. Please bring them on as we speak. Okay, so looking at these additional notes on revenue, we have the other loss. You've gone through it. We have the income taxes. We also have trade receivables. Yes, please. EO, your hands are up. Go ahead.
Yeah, me more question is when there's an issue of we bringing out discussions of sustainability, how do we factor it into the report?
Okay, fantastic. So you factor in the issue of sustainability based on the scenario. So you look at it whether it's a compliance issue or a business going concern issue. So we have sustainability around issues of ESG, which is economic, social, and governance. So when it's an economic, social, and governance issue, it has to do with compliance. But when it's a sustainability issue that has to do with a company crumbling, a going concern issue, maybe a lot of losses, the company has a lot of litigation challenges, it has a lot of cases that is bringing down the company and affecting its going concern status, then you know that you're going to factor in the report around those boxes that speaks to challenges and analytical analysis about the company's survival. So two ways or two things. Sustainability in the area of compliance, you discuss it in the 4th box, challenges and consideration. You could replicate it in ethical issues, and you could speak to it around risk assessment, evaluative skills and judgment in the 6th box. But when it comes to going concern, the company is facing challenges, having maybe losses, the company is having a lot of hiccups, future issues, maybe losses are threatening its corporate survival, then you need to analyze. If you are provided with numbers, you need to analyze them in the 2nd and the 3rd box. So just discuss generally. Look at where the sustainability question is gravitating towards. What's the examiner trying to ask you on sustainability? And try to integrate that in writing. So the boxes are clear. The first box is the general overview. The 2nd box is explanation of your computation. The 3rd box is analyzing those computations. The 4th box is looking at challenges and considerations in the case. The 5th box is ethical issues, a must. That 5th box is a must. The 6th box is risk assessment. You evaluate skills and judgment. Then the 7th and the 8th boxes are conclusions and recommendations. Those two are a must. So look at the case scenario, like you've spoken about sustainability, and from the content of the exhibits, you know what to pick and how to write it based on those boxes. It shouldn't be a challenge. I hope you're clear on that, EO.
Yes, that's fine, sir.
All right. Good questions. Good engagement. We need to do that. All right. So the next point, based on the additions on this footnote, is trade and other receivables or payables. So we have information on trade receivables and payables, very important, that we need to integrate in our report. We also have inventory, and the decision based on 2024 is to increase the volume of vehicle and spare parts inventory held, and we have inventory increase approximately 20% in 2024. Okay, so the next exhibit is Exhibit 8, and we have the proposal, the investment in after-sales service, which is a project overview. So we have the initial outlay, the project life, residual value, expected annual revenue, and the likes. We also have financing option, whether to go for a long-term debt, a 5-year bank loan, or shareholders should inject new 50% equity. And we have the weighted average of 18% cost of capital. Then we have Exhibit 9, which is a memo from the CFO to the head of procurement, talking about the high cost of original equipment manufactured, spare parts, and the project. So we have a narrative here, and we have an ethical issue speaking about the brand's integrity and how the market is using certified quality parts without explicitly. So this is an ethical issue here. Yeah, please. Somebody's trying to say something? I heard something. Please feel free to speak if you have something to say. Interject freely. Okay. So the CFO is telling the head of procurement that I require our guidance on the legal and ethical implications of this communication strategy, whether the approach is a significant ethical risk to the company's brand, especially in the light of the Preseen industry challenge regarding counterfeit parts. And we have the issues in Exhibit 4. We also have selective market data based on a prediction, Exhibit 10. So we have operating margin, ROAS, current ratio. So we have for Folak, we have the market average for other dealers. So we are comparing Folak with other dealers in the automotive industry. All right, so that forms the exhibits for the unseen. And we'll now have to go back to our computations to see how to integrate some of these exhibits and form the basis of our thoughts and our computations. Okay, so having said that, let's look at the requirements again so that you can form your computations for requirement 1. So we have requirement 1 saying we should analyze financial health, capital structure, strategic risk that covers the reviews of Folak Motors financial performance of trade. So we should do profitability and efficiency, a detailed analysis of the key ratios, and address the issue of other laws. So this requirement 1, we are supposed to address it with our ratios. So not every ratio is to be computed. So take note of the examiner's prompt on which ratios to calculate. If it tells you financial profitability, liquidity, efficiency, you know that you're providing 3 sets of ratios. And you need to be careful so that you don't overcalculate the ratios. There are key ratios and there are some that are not key ratios. It's important to take note of that so that you don't waste time in calculating irrelevant ratios that will not be used or needed for your discussion. Okay, so I provided common size analysis here in case. Now, common size analysis is to compare both years and comparing the base with the items on either the income statement and the balance sheet. So common size analysis compares the base of either the income statement or the balance sheet to see what percentages accrue to each of those items in either the income statement or the balance sheet. So for the income statement, the base is always 100%, and that is revenue. Revenue is the basis for comparison. So what is the ratio of cost of sales to revenue? How many percent is it? So from what we calculated here, when you have revenue, you just make revenue the base by 100%. Then the cost of sales and the base, what is the percentage? So for 2023, 2024, the percentage of cost of sales to revenue is 85%. Gross profit is 14, selling is 11. Down, you look at it, then profit to the base of revenue is 2%, 3%. What are you measuring in common size? You are trying to see how much of those components provides value to revenue. What is the percentage of those components to revenue? And that will tell you how the company is doing as a result of costs and income. So I provided a comment here in case. Then also for assets, I provided the common size analysis, and the base is always the total assets. Total assets is always 100% for common size analysis. Then you do your total non-current assets, your total current assets, to see what percentages are these components based on the base of total assets or total equity and liabilities, whichever it is. It's time taking actually to do this under exam condition, but the examiner, I think, has asked candidates to do that in 2 or 3 diets or so. So in case he does that, yes, please, Jay, your hands are up. Go ahead.
Sir, what I want to ask, can we blend this exhibit 1B to with 1A? Can we blend them together instead of doing them separately?
Okay, that's appendix. You're talking about appendix now, not exhibit.
Not exhibit. Appendix 1B. Can we blend it with appendix 1A?
All right, good question. So appendix 1A is on trend analysis, and appendix 1B is on ratio analysis. Okay, no, 1B is common size, so you can't blend common size and trend analysis. It's going to be tardy. It's going to be shabby. Your work is going to look unneat because you have to provide the change in value, change in value and change in percentage. So if you do common size analysis with trend analysis, it's going to be tardy, and you're going to be you get confused. So it's better to do common size differently. But you can do ratio analysis in your trend analysis. It's very possible. So because of time constraint, you want to be fast. As you are doing your change, you could do ratio analysis. So just form another table here and put the ratios. So as you're computing this, you're putting the ratio analysis. But I advocate for separate tables for trend, for ratio, and for common size. But if you're not asked for common size in the requirement, don't waste your time doing common size, please. Just do your change and do your ratio analysis. Common size is time taking, so don't waste time doing common size. I just put it there in case the scenario asks you or the requirement asks you for common size. So ratio analysis and trend could fit in. I've seen the examiner do that in some of his pathfinders. But trend analysis and common size, I don't know how you're going to fit it in. Maybe I've not tried it before anyway. If you can do it, why not? I've not tried it, but I think it will be tardy. If you can do it, it's good. Anything that saves time, please go ahead. Yes, TT, go ahead and speak. Your hands are up.
Okay, good evening, sir.
Good evening, nice to have you.
Good evening, sir.
You're welcome, nice to have you.
Okay, thanks for everything.
You're welcome.
Done. Okay, I just want to confirm now. We have Preseen. We have 2 statements for 2 years for the financials. Yeah. So if in the unseen you are now giving one financial, maybe for 2025, are we going to still use the Preseen statement in addition with the current one?
Yes.
That is being given in an unseen situation.
Yes. You're going to use it. So maybe he's coming up with an interim financial statement saying, okay, 2025, use January to September. Then somebody said forecast. he could ask you for a forecast of 2025, full forecast. You have to use it with 2023, 2024. Yes. It's
Okay,
a build up on
so
the two. Yes. Let's go ahead.
Because before now, I have understanding from my previous attempt that, okay, oh, this thing, the moment you enter, you have nothing to do with Preseen anymore. So because of that, some things are not being pulled out from there.
No, the
That
figures for
was
Preseen.
my
Yeah, your assumption. Your assumption. So the Preseen, if you look at his trajectory, if he gives you 2 years and comes up with an additional year, that additional year, most of the time from trajectory and his former reports, if you've looked at previous years, you'll see that is a build-up. You ask you to do additional work on what he has done in the Preseen. So it's an addition. Except he expressly says you should not use the figures, which I doubt. He has not asked that in any of the trajectory. I have the 23 diets he has tested. He has not said, okay, the previous Preseen figures are useless to the current one. He has not said that, except maybe few diets where he asks you to do geographical or intercontinental calculations. And those were complex diets where he provided a Preseen, and in the unseen he asked, okay, the geographical location, Africa, Asia, this, that, businesses are located in those jurisdictions. So the Preseen was a bit much more useless in that scenario, because those geographical areas, and it's not more than 2 diets he's tested those complex scenarios. But anything is possible anyway. He could do that to this diet. I used to tell my students, expect the worst. That's ICAN for you. So if he brings maybe geographical and say, okay, motor vehicle, this motor, Folak Motors is in Africa, is in Asia, is in United Kingdom. So all the data from that, consolidate it to, you see that the Preseen figures may not really be useful for that analysis. He has done that in the past, like 2-3 diets, and they were very terrible diets. But then, in answering your question succinctly, sure. If it's coming up with a 2025 figure for just this Folak Motors in Nigeria, then 2023, 2024 will be useful for your analysis. It will be useful.